Have you ever noticed that when someone believes in you, you tend to perform better? Maybe it was a teacher who told you that you had potential, or a coach who pushed you to go beyond what you thought possible. Somehow, their belief in you made you rise to the occasion. On the other hand, maybe you've also experienced the opposite, when someone expected little from you, and no matter how hard you tried, it felt like you couldn't prove yourself. This isn't just coincidence. Psychologists have a name for this: the Pygmalion effect. The Pygmalion effect is a psychological phenomenon where higher expectations lead to higher performance. It's a type of self-fulfilling prophecy. What we believe about others influences how we treat them, which in turn affects how they see themselves and ultimately how they perform. The effect can be imagined as a cycle. It starts with our beliefs about someone else. Those beliefs shape our actions toward them. Our actions then affect their self-beliefs, and those self-beliefs influence their behavior and performance, which finally reinforce our original beliefs. The cycle repeats itself, often getting stronger over time. The name Pygmalion comes from Greek mythology. Pygmalion was a sculptor who created a statue so beautiful that he fell in love with it. His devotion was so strong that the goddess Aphrodite brought the statue to life. In psychology, the story became a metaphor. Belief and expectation can give life to potential that might otherwise remain hidden. Imagine you are coaching a basketball team. On the very first day, you meet two new players, Chris and Joe. Chris reminds you of a professional player you admire. Joe, on the other hand, reminds you of someone you didn't like in school. Without even realizing it, you form different expectations for them. When Chris enters the court, you're excited. You encourage him, you challenge him, you give him extra time to practice. When he makes mistakes, you patiently explain how to improve. When Joe comes in, your enthusiasm is lower. You notice his mistakes more than his effort. You give him less feedback and spend less time helping him improve. As a result, Chris feels supported and confident. He trains harder, improves faster, and enjoys the game more. Joe, on the other hand, feels unappreciated. He becomes less motivated, skips practices, and performs worse. By the end of the season, your initial expectations seem correct. Chris looks like a star. Joe looks like he's not very committed. But in reality, your expectations shaped the outcome. That's the Pygmalion effect at work. This isn't just a story, it's backed by real research. In 1968, psychologist Robert Rosenthal and school principal Lenore Jacobson conducted a groundbreaking study in a California elementary school. At the start of the year, all students were given an IQ test. Then, Rosenthal and Jacobson randomly selected about 20% of the students and told their teachers that these children were intellectual bloomers who had extraordinary potential. In truth, these students were chosen completely at random. They were no different from the others. But by the end of the school year, something fascinating happened. The so-called bloomers showed much greater improvement in their IQ scores compared to their classmates. Teachers had treated them as special, expecting them to succeed, and that expectation changed the way the children saw themselves. It boosted their motivation, confidence, and effort, and their performance improved as a result. Rosenthal summarized the lesson in one powerful line: when we expect certain behaviors of others, we are likely to act in ways that make the expected behavior more likely to occur. Rosenthal also tested this effect in another surprising way using rats. In one study, groups of students were asked to train rats to run through a maze. Some students were told that their rats were especially intelligent. Others were told that their rats were not very smart. In reality, the rats were all the same. But by the end of the experiment, the so-called smart rats performed much better than the dumb ones. The only difference was the trainer's expectations. Those who believed their rats were intelligent treated them more carefully, gave them more encouragement, and handled them with more patience. This showed just how powerful expectations can be. Even animals respond to the beliefs we project onto them. It's important to remember that this process works both ways. Just as high expectations can lift someone up, low expectations can hold someone back. This is known as the golem effect. When leaders, teachers, or parents expect failure, they may unintentionally discourage effort, provide less support, or communicate disappointment. Over time, the person begins to internalize these low expectations, and their performance declines. Both the Pygmalion and golem effects remind us of the hidden power of belief. We see this play out in many areas of life. In education, teachers' expectations can shape how well students learn. A teacher who believes in a student's potential is more likely to provide encouragement, attention, and challenging material. On the other hand, labeling a student as weak may lead to less patience and support, which can cause the student to struggle even more. In the workplace, managers who expect great things from their team members often see better performance. They assign meaningful tasks, provide feedback, and trust employees with responsibility. Employees, sensing this trust, step up and deliver. On the flip side, managers who expect little may unintentionally limit growth by micromanaging or withholding opportunities. The same pattern applies in parenting. Parents who believe their children can succeed often provide encouragement, opportunities to learn, and a supportive environment. Children grow up with confidence and resilience. But when parents constantly doubt their children or set low expectations, kids may begin to doubt themselves, leading to underachievement. Sports and coaching also highlight this effect. Athletes often rise or fall to the level of expectations set by their coaches. A coach who shows belief in a player's potential can inspire peak performance. A coach who doubts a player may hold them back, even if the talent is there. It's worth noting that the Pygmalion effect has been debated. Later studies have sometimes struggled to replicate the strong results Rosenthal and Jacobson found. Some researchers argue that the effect is not as universal or powerful as originally claimed, but most agree that expectations do matter. They may not always cause dramatic IQ gains, but they can still shape motivation, confidence, and long-term performance. So how can we use this knowledge in everyday life? One way is to raise your expectations. Expect more from people, not less. Believe in their potential. Communicate belief by letting others know you trust them and see their strengths. Provide opportunities by giving people the space to grow, take responsibility, and challenge themselves. At the same time, check your own biases and be aware of unconscious assumptions that might lead you to treat people unfairly. Finally, apply it to yourself. The Pygmalion effect works inward too. When you set high expectations for your own abilities, you are more likely to rise and meet them. The Pygmalion effect shows us that expectations are not just predictions of the future, they can be tools that create it. When we believe in others, we help them believe in themselves. And when we expect the best, we often get the best. So whether you're a teacher, a parent, a leader, or simply a friend, remember this: your expectations have power. Use them wisely, because what you believe in others can become the reality they live.